A girl sitting in class lightly places her hand on the shoulder of the student in front of her. But in the very next moment, her entire life turns upside down. The boy sitting ahead suddenly starts screaming as if some terrifying shadow has stolen his breath away. The girl has no idea what just happened. And then she sees it. That same boy is now staring at her with a monstrous grin. Terrified, the girl grabs a drawing compass from the desk and, without thinking, attacks him. But to the rest of the students, it looks like she did it intentionally. Some kids even get slightly injured in the chaos. The school management immediately expels her. Amid everyone's glaring eyes, her mother, Lustini, takes her frightened daughter Aram by the hand and leads her out of the school. Once home, her older sister Leah tells their mother that Aram needs mental treatment, because this isn't the first time something like this has happened. But the mother refuses to believe it. That night, Lustini sits silently in front of her husband's photograph. 4 years ago, on Aram's birthday, her husband had died under mysterious circumstances. Before his death, he had written in a diary that Aram was cursed as a child, and around every birthday, her behavior would fall under the control of an unknown force. Fortunately, Aram's birthday falls on February 29th, so the curse only awakens once every 4 years, and now that date is approaching again. The diary also mentioned that he had contacted various spiritual masters and exorcists who might be able to break the curse. It was now up to Lustini to finish what he had started. Just as she gets ready to leave, Leah insists on coming along. As the journey begins, Aram smiles for the first time in a long while. Only 5 days remain until her birthday, so they have to hurry. When they meet the first exorcist, Rusman, he immediately grows serious upon seeing Aram. He senses that there's an immensely powerful spiritual energy inside the girl, one beyond his control. Rusman claims that his ritual can tame any dark force. But while in the bathroom, Aram suddenly hears a strange woman's voice whispering in her ear, warning her that Rusman is cruel, that he sacrifices children to strengthen his dark powers. Now Aram's heart fills with hatred toward him. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Rusman prepares for the ritual. Suddenly, he senses the presence of a demonic force nearby. In the darkness, he sees a shadow, a small child, an unknown figure. As he steps closer, the figure turns around, revealing a horrifying demonic face. Before he can comprehend what's happening, the shadow vanishes into thin air, only to reappear right in front of him the next second. Suddenly, he was thrown by some invisible force and crashed into a dry tree standing behind him. A broken, thick branch pierced straight through his body, killed him instantly. At that very moment, the evil spirit left Aram's body. Lustini immediately held him up, and the two hurried away from there. Traveling overnight, they finally reached the place where they found Hana waiting. As soon as she understood the situation, she tied Aram tightly to a wooden chair with ropes. Then, after sprinkling holy water on him, she began the ritual. A little while later, Hana looked at Lustini as if something was stuck deep within her soul. She said Lustini to close her eyes and search her childhood memories. Amid the echoing chants, Lustini fell into a deep trance and saw the car accident that killed her parents. Hana then revealed that the accident was no coincidence. Her father's first wife had used black magic out of revenge, and that same vengeful spirit was now haunting Aram. Even today, its anger had not subsided. Hearing this truth, Lustini stopped breathing for a moment. The sorceress regretfully said, "My power is too weak before this spirit. I can't completely free him." Meanwhile, in the corner of the temple, Aram, still tied up, saw his younger sister standing there and begged her to untie. Terrified, she refused. But then the evil spirit whispered into her ear, became hypnotized, and started untying the ropes. Hearing the noise, Hana rushed over, but it was too late. Aram was possessed again. He grabbed the people in the temple with an iron-like grip. Hana tried to stop, but Aram suddenly lunged toward her, and one of her fingers got caught between teeth. Blood started pouring out like a fountain. Aram ran out of the temple, and just then, the headlights of a speeding truck hit. As if controlled by some unseen force, walked straight into the truck's path and was thrown far away by the massive impact. Losing consciousness, he finally woke up. The dark force inside him had vanished. Hana's assistant came forward, carrying an amulet blessed with sacred chants, and carefully placed it around Aram's neck. The amulet would not only protect from evil, but also help him remember the truth he had forgotten. The assistant tells Lustini that the spirit's power is growing stronger every day. "We've used every bit of our strength," she says, "but now it's beyond our control." Lustini was helpless. She had to find another shaman soon. Only 3 days were left until Aru's birthday. Lastini had been driving all night and her body was starting to give up. So she decided to stop by the roadside for a short rest. While Aru was asleep, he suddenly remembered the moment when it accidentally hurt his father. It was because of the talisman's effect. The suppressed memories were resurfacing. He woke up screaming, overcome with guilt, realizing it was the reason his father had died. Lastini held him tightly, trying to calm down, but pain only grew worse. Now only 2 days were left until his birthday, and the curse was getting stronger by the hour. Lastini drove on without stopping. The next 45 hours would decide the fate of their family. She kept wandering in search of the next spiritual guide. She went everywhere with hope but returned disappointed each time. So many failures broke Aru's spirit. Crying, said mother, "Mom, please stop trying to save me. I'm not going to make it." But for a mother, her child is never a burden. There was unwavering faith in Lastini's eyes. She knew that no matter how difficult the path, there would be a way out. Her courage and love gave Aru a glimmer of hope too. After many days of struggle, they finally reached the house of a tantric shaman unlike any other. He revealed that Lastini's husband had contacted him 4 years ago. He knew this day would come, so he had already made all the preparations. The shaman immediately promised to begin the ritual. His maid brought special ritual garments for both Liana and the ceremony. Liana was surprised but followed the instructions without asking questions. After some time, the place was ready. 2 people brought them to the center of the ritual circle. A cage was placed over them, and a white cloth inscribed with sacred symbols was draped on top. At that moment, Lastini noticed that Liana's cloth looked exactly the same as the one used in the ritual. Both of them couldn't understand why this was happening. The ritual began. The pain grew unbearable, writhing and screaming in agony, cries shaking the air. Suddenly, blood started coming out of Lia's mouth. Terrified, she stopped the ritual and demanded an explanation. The priest slowly bowed his head and revealed the truth. Lastini's husband had planned all of this years ago. There was only one way to remove the evil spirit from Aru's body, by transferring it into a new vessel. And for that, they had adopted Lia, believing her body to be the perfect medium. Lia's world came crashing down. Even Arun was left frozen, never known why she was brought into this house. Holding her tight, said, "I didn't know anything, and I'll never let you die." But through her tears, Lia smiled and said, "Mother, if my sacrifice can save Aru, then I'm ready." Her acceptance broke Lastini's heart. She cried over Lia's selflessness because she loved her even more than her real daughter. Meanwhile, the ritual reached its peak. The priest removed the cage, but Hana wasn't inside. The next moment, the entire hall turned into chaos. People began attacking themselves and each other. Within minutes, dozens lay lifeless on the ground, and even the priest was consumed by that same demonic power. The spirit had grown far stronger than anyone could control. As the spirit left the body, Aaron regained consciousness and broke down in tears when he saw the blood in his hands. He realized how many innocent lives had been taken through him once again. Lastini rushed in, pulled him into the car, and drove away immediately. Only 1 day remained until Aaron's birthday, the day when the curse would reach its most dangerous form. The constant deaths and the failed ritual had shattered everyone. After thinking for a while, Lastini decided that before consulting any other priest, she should take the children to her ancestral home. Around 30 years ago, her parents had died in a horrific accident, and since then, the mansion had been looked after by their old driver, Subgir. As soon as she stepped inside, memories from the past came flooding back. She remembered how her father used to warn her repeatedly to stay away from his first wife, Marcina, and her daughter, because Isla's child was born sickly, and her father considered that a shame. They had forced Marcina and her little daughter to live far away from the mansion, near the old stables. Meanwhile, Arun had finally calmed down and said quietly, "Mother, tie me up." "I can't trust myself." Lastini had no other choice. She tied him up tightly. After that, she wandered through the rooms of the house. Everything looked familiar, yet strangely foreign. Suddenly, she heard the soft voice of a little girl. Startled, she turned around. It was the same child, Marcina's deceased daughter. Following the direction of the voice, she reached the dining hall. As soon as she closed her eyes, she was suddenly transported back in time. She remembered how gentle and kind-hearted Marcina used to be, how she would make beautiful woolen toys with her own hands and gift them to Lastini. But her father despised it. He would crush those toys under his feet and say, "Those two are cursed. Stay away from them." Little Lastini had obeyed her father's words, while Marcina and her mother suffered years of humiliation. When Lastini snapped out of her memories, her eyes fell on an old photograph lying on the bed. A name immediately came to her mind: Subgir. Subgir, who was always seen around Marcina. She went around the village asking about him and finally reached his house. Without wasting any time, she asked, "What was between you two?" Subgir didn't lie. Taking a deep breath, he said, "I always loved her, but she could never be mine. Your father chose her because he was wealthy, and I was just a driver." His voice trembled as he continued, "When their daughter fell ill, your father didn't even allow them to leave the house, let alone get treatment. Marcina's daughter suffered in pain and died one night." Tears filled Lastini's eyes. Subgir went on, his voice growing heavier. "Her daughter's death broke her completely. A few days later, she was found hanging. The day she died, I swore I'd never leave her alone. I did something for her." His eyes turned red. "I brought her back so she could finish what was left undone." The full truth was finally revealed. It was the spirit of Hana, Marcina's daughter, who had been controlling Arun all along, taking revenge for the injustice done to her years ago. Driver Subagir, blinded by love, had learned black magic and summoned her spirit so he could take revenge on Tini's family. Now only 1 hour was left before Aru's birthday, and if the spirit wasn't exorcised in time, it would permanently take control of Aru's body. Crying and begging, Tini pleaded with Subagir, "Please let my daughter go. Take my life instead." Meanwhile, the bound Arun once again fell under the demon's control and ran straight into the forest. Chasing after, Tini reached a cliff where the spirit was about to make Aru jump. Just then, she threw a sacred cloth over it and trapped Marcina's spirit, because she had finally realized that true love doesn't seek revenge. It seeks liberation. As blood began to appear on the cloth, Marcina's spirit was freed, but at that very moment, it entered Subagir's body, and he dragged Aru into the river. Only 3 minutes were left until her birthday. Jumped into the water and somehow managed to pull Aru to the shore. But the spirit attacked again, and this time, to save his daughter, he put himself in harm's way. With just 1 minute remaining, the spirit had already entered Tini's body. Gathering every bit of her remaining strength and consciousness, she smashed her head against a rock, destroying the spirit forever, along with herself. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.